Hi everyone, in this video I'll be walking you through how to solve question number 1 from assignment 7 using Excel in Solver. So the first thing I'm going to do is set up the algebraic formulas. And so you can see this is a minimization problem. And the formula is given to us as 2x1 plus 3x2. And then there's also the constraints that it's subjected to. And I'm just going to copy these in from the assignment. Alright, so you can see these are the different constraints and what they have to be greater than or less than. And then also we have x1 and x2 must be greater than 0. And you should remember to always include that in all of your formulas because they always have to be greater than 0. So now that we have the constraints put into the Excel sheet, we can start setting up the formula. So we'll start by labeling our x1 and x2 columns. And we'll have two parts up here. First is the quantity. And this is one of the things that's going to be calculated. And then we also have the value, which is given to us as 2 and 3, which you can see from the formula here. And then also we'll be solving for the total value. And then in the next step, we can start adding in our constraints. And it'll be for A, B, C, and D. And we'll get the values for these constraints by looking at our algebraic formulas here. So you can see A is 2 and 1, B is 4 and 5, C is 2 and 8, and then finally D is 5 and 6. So we'll add in our results column here, and this is part of what's going to be calculated when we set our constraints in Solver. So I'll also add in the limit here, which is also given to us down here in our formulas. We have 3, 20, 16, and 60. So one thing that can help you stay organized is you can color code some of your calculated fields. So I'll set the quantity calculation to blue. The total value can be green, and our constraint calculations I'll set to yellow in this case. So first I'll start by creating our total value formula here, and that's just the quantity of x1 times the value. And we'll do the same thing for x2, the quantity times the value. Now we'll start putting in our formula to calculate the results, which in this case it'll be 2 times the quantity in x1, and I'll lock that in. We'll do the same thing for x2, where it's 1 times the quantity of x2, and again I'll lock that in. And this way we can just drag that down. We can make sure that the formulas have stayed the same and nothing's gotten changed here. Alright, so now that we have the problem set up, we can start working with Solver. So go over to the Data tab here, go to Solver. So the first thing we want to do is set the target cell where we're getting our final calculation. So that will be the total value cell. We'll set it to min because this is a minimization problem. And then we'll also set the cells that will be changing in order to calculate that total value, which will be B4 and C4. At this point we can start adding our constraints. So the first thing I'm going to do is make sure that x1 and x2 are greater than 0. And then I'm going to start setting our constraints down here. So if we look down at our algebraic formulas, we can see that A, B, and C, they all must be greater than those values. So if we highlight all three, select greater than, and then select our constraints, and you can click add. And then finally for D, D must be less than 60, so we'll select the cell for D, have it less than, and we can select our constraint over here. So now that we have all our constraints set up, make sure that your solving method is set to simplex LP, and we can hit solve. Select OK to keep the values, and you can see that the numbers for x1 and x2 match, along with our objective total value matches the given answers. And you can see there's some different rounding things, but don't worry about that. So this is how to complete problem number 1 on assignment 7 using Solver. And in the next video, we'll be working through problem number 2.